Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode. The title is A Future That Ran to Us First. And I would like to speak about planetary intelligence. I would advise that there may be additional noises such as coughs and whatnot in this episode, so I apologize earlier than that. And if it really bothers you, I understand if you can't listen to the talk, but I will continue. The title is A Future That Ran to Us First, and the notion of this was that I was actually thinking about the concept of time travel, and I thought about if we were in the future and we wanted to go to the past, what it would be like. And then an idea occurred to me that had never occurred to me before until tonight, believe it or not, and that the planet could be time traveling. That potentially human beings, what they are picking up in their inner realms is the different faces of the earth. Of course, I'm being poetic, but what I mean is that if we consider that planetary intelligence surpasses time, then the planet has access to various different kinds of time. Sometimes I think, could it be that we are in an incredible database? We think it's empty. But we're in this incredible database, and if the person resonates, like a radio frequency, you tune into the right frequency, you get a sudden experience. So I thought about this. What if in some sense we are natural time travelers, because there was a point where nature was nothing to even consider time? That means before human beings, what time? Who at the time? Who was there to even ask the time? Now, this idea of could the planet be traveling, I have approached this idea in different ways through different contexts. When I say I've approached the idea, what I mean is that I've had discussions with people on the notions of guardian angels, the idea of guardian angels, and I have a very unique opinion. I have a very unique opinion that ever since 2013, when I wrote the first book I ever wrote in this life called The Great Work, that was the first official book. My personal theory on what the guardian angel experience suggests or could be like is that from a monotheistic context, there's the suggestion of a pull towards the light and a pull towards the darkness. I remember just being a kid, and I remember my grandparents, aunts, if there was a sort of religious influence. I was born in Iran. And so this idea had come early on that on one shoulder is the devil, and on the other shoulder is like the angel of God. That idea was there. Usually religions, they immediately set in place a dualism. I thought about it in the sense that in our past we were just objects, then we grew minds, and we are moving to pure mind, a sort of notion that we were in a solid state, liquid state, gas state. Now I want you to imagine the human being we find in 2020, it is in the liquid state. That is a giant achievement, But what would the gas state imply? The gas state would imply a non-physical humanity. So if there is a chance that in the future we are no longer individuals, and it's this collective sense of presence of the species, That means right now we're energy with form. Imagine we become energy to be comfortable regardless of the form, whether there's form or not. The future, if it is collective, if we even take the metaphor that in the past we were a drop, now we are a river, in the future we are the ocean. My whole point is that a collective being is timeless. It has access to all eyes in all experiences, in all moments. So if there could be a slight chance that we human beings are in a symbiosis with a collective being, do you know? I just a line of poetry came into my mind right now. The five fingers bowed to the one palm, and as humility found the source, ignorance was broken as if the fist had hit the hitter first. So if in the future we are oceanic, we are a collective being, we surpass individual time, then technically time travel, everybody would have access to it. Everybody. You know what that would mean? That would mean the future has nowhere to go. It is only the past and the present. The present because it has the unknown, the past because it again, the present is here. You see, my theory on guardian angels was that our future self is a collective being, and that is why we know. Because I am telling you, sometimes in my inner realms, it is not a human knowing. The way I sometimes notice the rhythms of the weathers of the inner realms, kind of the storms, the clouds enter that sky. I can tell you, I'm calling it inner realms because I noticed imagination is being forgotten, and that is one of the most rarest technologies. That is the gift from the gods, that if you can look at an empty space and see phenomena there, what that means is the inner realms are active, you know? You see, it is always easier to judge the eyes that we don't have. You know, I have said some things to people, but it was only after I calmed down where I was like, why did I say that when I was angry? What value was there? And you know what it is? It's this petty feeling. You know, guys, in the chat section, I'll tell you this. The topic I'm telling you here now is for a species to discover its symbiosis with a collective being that it is simultaneously inseparably knowing as, is like, I think it's important, guys. It's important that we realize we have lived as individuals, and individuals like breaking things. But it is only the collective will, and the collective will is an emergence factor. It's something that we have to, it's like through the emergence of the effort of human beings and advanced civilization builds. Right now, we need designers. When I say advanced communicators, I mean human beings that actually look at the world before wanting to leave it. So anyways, a future that ran to us first is pretty much this notion. I got to get this idea across completely. The future is a collective being. We're an individual being now. We're an individual being in time now. Our time is really separating our individualism, giving us our backstories as creatures. And then we notice that if the future is timeless, what it would imply a future that ran to us first would mean the moment we reach a collective state of mind, the past has been restored. You see, sometimes I feel as if, like, when a person has a thought, they can remember it. Like a person has a dream, they wake up, they're still conscious of the imagery of the dream. The person is walking by, they see something beautiful, and that thought etched into their long-term memory. So it's as if asking, if we were the memory of a mind, are we being remembered by the universe? And I feel strangely, yes. I feel that just like how man's intelligence is designed to be a recording force, the universe is recording itself. The future is not for everyone. That's why not everyone sees it. Now, take into this notion that the collective being that our species may become in the future is, first of all, collective. It is not conscious in one way, it's conscious as a whole. So technically we can say it's unconscious because it's conscious in multiple ways. So no one consciousness is valid, and therefore it's technically not conscious in one way if it's conscious in multiple ways. Welcome, guys. Feel free to add branches to the talk if you see anything in the inner realms. I can include it. Or if I'm saying something and the listeners feel like I've moved past an important point, you can feel free to share. Because on some level, when I give a talk, it's like riding a bicycle. It's like I'm only focused on the bicycle. I don't, like I'm looking at the environment where I'm going with the bicycle. If somebody shouts while I'm riding this bicycle, it's as if like I hear it, but I can't engage it. But anyways, a future that ran to us first, a future that is collective, a symbiosis of an individual with a collective, an individual that was an object first, an individual that became a subject first. As it became a subject, there was the first duality. It noticed the object is not here alone, the subject is there. As the object-subject inseparability was understood, the witness emerged. The witness began becoming the world, and it was the first time we began becoming conscious of our roots as non-dual beings. You see, memory is an expression. It's like a piano key. People don't realize it. They think their memories are good. They think their memories are bad. Little do they know this antenna is magnificent. My mind has given me the privilege to move in multiple ways. My mind has given me a privilege to live multiple lives before I actually wake up. I can tell you my dreams, they feel like lives to me. I mean, sure, my body's asleep in the bed, but I'm actually experiencing content in the dream. So if there's content to the dream, that's literally like being awake and experiencing something. So there is something there, you know? People are gonna be like, Mr. Within, you really gotta get out of this highway you're living. This That's the beautiful thing about the mind. You can't solve it as an object, and you can't see it as a problem as an object. The mind is like the butterfly's certainty before the caterpillar has entered the cocoon. The mind is the rarest event in nature, the human mind. And human beings, because we have access to language, we have two options. That means imagine two children being born. Imagine two children are born. One of them behaves like an animal. It's a human being. Two human beings are born, but one of them behaves like an animal. Everywhere this human being goes, he's vicious, violent. He literally growls to human beings, you know. And so, like, it's a vicious human being. It's a wild human being. Just like how wild Pokemon appeared, sometimes in the streets of the world, wild human beings appear, you know. Now, the wild human being may, first of all, the wild human being may survive longer. There is a chance. Or it may survive shorter, who knows, depending on the savageness of civilization. If we suddenly go back to like a post-apocalyptic kind of scenario, then it's like, yeah, the strongest animal wins. But thank God right now we have minds. Like, if we didn't have minds, can you imagine if we were still animals trying to stand up? Like, that would be, serious. I honestly feel this world, there's various numerous energy in different dimensions, and this energy is waiting for authorization to express on this planet. So when a human being actually expresses intent, when they actually live a life, they are creating the space of the future. We don't realize we're not just designing our own future memories. We are designing the future memories of the species by how we live now. So the notion of how the guardian angel, from a metaphysical standpoint, let us say, how the guardian angel knew how to guard or how to defend was because it was the future self of the human being who had seen all timelines. You know? I honestly believe that the body, yes, granted, 3 dimensions, 1 dimension of time, we can keep it as casual as that. That's the outer realms. The inner realms are like paint. Or I can say it's as if like there's this outline and we're just throwing paint on it, to see what the outline is. That's what it feels. I feel like I am throwing knowledge at an unknown wall, and an unknown sky, really. Are we not all speaking to an unknown sky? Are we not all in an unknown sky? We are more unknown than known. How we know anything on this planet is remarkable to me. This is something that, I don't know. I think it happens more in developing countries than developed countries. But in certain cultures, when, like, for example, you see, like, okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say we see the situation of domestic violence, two partners, and one of them pretty much beats the other one, you know? Now imagine two partners, a situation of usually you would expect domestic violence happens, but this time instead of the man who is angry, usually it's the man who is angry, instead of the man hitting the woman, imagine, I've seen this, a man hit himself. A person being so angry, but he's angry at someone the person loves. Like, it's like when you're angry at someone you love, you can only hit yourself because you were the fool, or you made the mistake. So what I'm saying is there's different ways of handling anger. Some people are very wise. They don't let anger pour out of their inner realms into the outer realms. They pretty much never show in the outer realms. As long as the sun is there, anger is evaporates from their mind. There is more to this world than we can see. So that's why we have developed language and people are interested in information, because information is somehow adding to sight, but it's not replacing experience. You can say talking about something is like having a micro experience of something in your inner realms. So pretty much guardian angels are our future self that is collective. That was the theory I had. And there was more to this, of course. Because in one talk I remember saying that the mind it's as if the mind is walking from the future to the past, the body is walking from the past to the future. Body can only compare itself to the past. It doesn't know how it's going to move in the future. But the mind already sees the future, and then there is a decision. So you know what it is? It's as if we're in the middle of two dimensions. Our mind is actually here to conduct the future. Our body is here to become aware of the past. You know what it feels like? It feels like the body is a pen, and the mind is the ink, and the soul is the hand holding it. And the soul is the unknown. It's pretty much the unknown x variable in the mathematical equation of reality. It is something that is here, but it cannot be here. It cannot be defined by anything here. It's as if it's a field. The here and now is a field. Pretty much human beings, we have we have crawled this earth as separate, you know, creatures. But now, you see, there's a beauty in it. That's why I'm sharing it. There's something that we have been able to see beauty in the past. We've been able to see beauty in the future and see a sunset. But when we think about the future, we're like, oh shit, we messed up the planet. What do we do? It's not that we messed up the planet. We messed our way of life on the planet up. You see, that's of a bigger degree. For me, what was her name? Let me see her name so I say her name right. Greta Thunberg. This girl who was like crying her soul out, crying her heart out in like the UN. She was pretty much saying, "What the fuck, the weather? What the fuck?" Like I heard her speech that way. But of course, it was she did a very powerful thing for a human being. She became a voice in a moment that needed to hear it. Now, the thing is, though, something broke my heart. Because Greta Thunberg, she seems an incredibly intelligent girl to me. But it seems that she hadn't realized that all the decision making of human beings is coming through language. You see, beauty is the greatest negotiator. Do you know this is why some companies have women, especially as employees? There is a beauty that's in the outer realms. This beauty is a blessing, but this beauty, the beauty of the outer realms, is temporary. Even the beautiful sunset leaves and the, nightfall arrives. So you see, the beauty of the outer realms, it's conditional. Everything in your outer realms, your joy is only in a certain condition of it. Do you know? It's like if the chair is comfortable, oh my God, am I in paradise? If the pillow is like a next level pillow, the person just like as they sleep, they're like, they're already in the pure lands, with pure silk. The pure silk lands. What I'm trying to say is that there's a huge chance there's collective activity occurring on this planet. It's just there's no individual way to pinpoint it. So the negation of the individual is the awareness of the collective. Every Zen master has literally been saying this, that it's as if once you stop looking, you are the sight. You might not believe it, that it's very easy to be an antenna if you stop shaking yourself. So in some sense, Greta Thunberg had to go see the issue is in the language and the definitioning and the imagery behind people's mind. So I would, in some sense, right now, we don't need too much environmentalists, screaming and, and bringing us like a sense of alarm. That alarm is there. Of course, we need voices, but I'm saying now more than ever, we need philosophers to tackle the conceptions of reality. That is it. That is how you change the alchemy of a civilization that doesn't see itself. You give it a mirror. You start living as if life is reflecting how you're looking at it. And when the inner realms activate, when your mind becomes your ally, that is a great moment for the universe. Because energy has no container to be authorized. That's the thing about non-duality. That there is a freedom of any conception, but it's like so much freedom that the person's like, if I'm free to do anything, why should I do anything? Can you imagine right now we're fighting for freedom, but imagine we had freedom and we were all bored and we were fighting for having less freedom, imagine. Imagine if the world had worked differently in an opposite way. Of course, when we talk about the future, I'm going to share some ideas on the future self as well, how I have approached that concept, what value does it even have. So just keep in mind, Mr. Within's view on the future is that we are pretty much oscillating between the known and the unknown, and we're right now existing in a known phase of the universe where existence has more authority. Then there's states where it's more unknown that has the authority, the experience has the authority. So that means it's seasonal, what we haven't considered. Just like the states of mind, and what I'm saying, the states of existence, or that's not the states of existence, the dimensions of this plane. The modern man is a freedom of all dimensions at once. When we start fearing the ability of humanity, then we will be able to use it. That means even in basic human psychology, if you cannot see the possibility of something in your inner realms, you can try it, but you will be the first fool. That means there is a sacrifice in art, that you are running a bit faster than the world in a direction that only you can see, until it emerges and then integrates with the social fabric, with the global fabric, you know. Okay, so Mr. Grateful says my highest will is eternal. Time doesn't is eternal. Time doesn't exist. It's just a carousel of events. Yeah. So when honestly, with timelessness, there is no self to have a will, because there is no change. Right now, we when we look at time, I think that's a very good way of saying it's just a carousel of events. Yeah, for me, I've termed that as the grand happening. You know, it's like that's what life is. Whatever idea I have, whatever idea people have on it, it's something that is going forth. It is like a commander that is already running in the battlefield, and all you can be in this life is just, go with the event. You know, that means we have experienced groups, chaotic behavior of groups, but we haven't experienced an advanced civilization as efficient as birds all flying together rhythmically, you know. That means as we have separated and become more distant from the language of the ecosystem, we have inevitably become selfish. This may be too far of a stretch, but I honestly feel the archetype of the devil, for example, in mono-Abrahamic religions, I think that archetype is a metaphor for the moment man stepped out of nature and had to become his own god. What I mean is that the notion of it is that all of it returns to a supreme source. So if the source is here, what is here now cannot be mistaken. That means, it's as if man may make mistakes, but existence, I don't know if existence it has the ability to make mistakes. The only reason we say something is a mistake is because we could have seen it happen another way. So Robert says, a friend of mine told me once you need to guide your ship rather than be dragged by the current. May I ask the dear listeners in the chat section to please use commas. I mean, Robert, the comment you say about being dragged, I've also heard some people say like dead fish only go with the flow. Like totally disrespecting the fascinating mystery that Taoism holds. But the whole notion of it is that really it's attention. That means it's like when you eat food, your hand chooses the food and eats it, right? So it's as if your mind, just like your hand, picks up data, picks up sensory perception. Oh my God, the mind is feeding itself reality. Guys, the mind is what do the listeners think? 12 people are listening to this right now. What do you think of this? The mind is feeding itself reality. Therefore, the mind doesn't feel just as the mind. That means think about it. We use a spoon to get like a mouthful size of food to consume. I'm thinking, what if the mind can't eat, can't consume and process sensory perception all at once? So it's literally taking bites of it. This comma thing is going to become a inside joke, I think. You see, this lady in the wallpaper that I have chosen for this episode, She is simultaneously being non-dual, even though she's walking to this giant beast in the background. Look at the way she's walking. She already has a plan. You see, that's how we should see in human beings, you know? You know, this I can't tell you, there's something so poetic about this picture. It's about the justice of the human heart surpassing the odds. That means it's like just like how there's odds against the person, there's also forces that are countering those odds. You know, the Sufi mystic poet has such a next level this poetry passage that I'm just telling you, if everybody decodes this for themselves, they'll extract some inner treasure from it. The quote says, your task is not to seek for love. You're not here to search for love. You are here to get rid of all the barriers you have made against it. That means if one person wants to save the world, it's too much. You get tired. So what it means is every human being begins taking care, begins um, increasing the quality of their individual life. As their individual life expands, then the collective could happen. So what it is the way I'm saying we can build an advanced civilization to counteract selfishness and greed, because all the political systems, many people don't know this. For example, the view of communism sounds very nice on paper. But when it actually happened, human nature had not reached a fairness yet, right? So because there isn't a fairness, there's competition. Because there's competition, there's not morality. Somebody loses in the middle. That means that the reason I'm saying we're not an advanced civilization is because there's too many losers in it. Too many people are losing in the civilization. It doesn't make sense. It's like, you know, so it's like honestly we're playing a sort of economical Hunger Games now on the planet. Even though money is abstract, like holy shit! Like before money, people were exchanging objects with one another. You know, somebody had a rake, somebody had a I don't know an axe, and they're like want to trade, and that's how that was how simple currency was. You know, but the moment of course, every evolutionary phase has like here's the thing, everything has a shadow that the light shines upon. I feel in this life, it's like you have to look at the self. That's important. As you go look at the self, you have to honestly wonder what your self is to you. As you honestly wonder what your self is to you, you suddenly notice the idea of the self it isn't on its own. The idea of the world is there. So after you have received teachings from the self, the next teachings are, you know what it is? It's like, just like how the person sees and touches an object but knows that it's being processed in the brain. It's as if we look at an outer phenomenon, but we know it's an inner event. It's like after you hover in non-duality for a while, suddenly you're going to want synchronicities from the inner realms towards the outer realms. So the outer realms begin pulling you back in, you know? Not in a sense of like a karmic depth. Karma is a different deal. Karma is attitude. You know, karma really isn't about the location. It isn't like Aldous Huxley says. It's like, what if this planet is another planet's hell? No, you know, it's not. It's not the case. This isn't. It's just It's an island. It's like, is an island hell if you can't live in it? Sure. Now let's take this idea of the future collective self a bit further. The collective self world, like they're inseparable in the future. Right now, we're a creature in a world. In the future, we're going to go through a phase where we're going to be a world and a creature, and then it's the abodes of the, you can say it's the top of the Mount Meru. You see, there is a strength in this world that knows itself. And then there's a strength in this world that the moment when it stops knowing itself, it can know itself in a new way. That is really it. Either you update the current archetype you're in, the archetype suit you're in. Let's create a term here. Let's treat archetypes as Iron Man suits. Why not? Let's treat it. Let's treat identity as a suit, language as an Iron Man suit. So it's like based on the archetype suit you're wearing. If you can't get out of the archetype suit, you have to work with it. That means it's like if someone, even if any person who is listening to me, there's a lot of human beings that are doing actions that are moral and they're proper, and there's a lot of human beings that are doing actions that are just inefficient to themselves and others. Now, how do we change the system? Really what it is that we just forget the model of good and bad. We just stop. We just stop that model of good and bad. And we just wonder what is on a design level happening to the quality of the human being. That means really life is a moment before any story. Then stories come and become masks for the world, and we go in wearing these beliefs, thinking that we know what truth is. Truth is not, there's a suggestion even that individuals have to become collective only then, as if like in certain mystical poetry, humans, the notion of the soul, there being different souls, was this notion of as if this giant mirror has shattered. And as it had shattered, every fragment of the mirror is reflecting the ultimate reality, yet only when the mirrors are together, they will see the complete. They will see the ultimate of their civilization. They will see the perfect mirror. So you can say, you can say the way I speak, I'm on the advanced communicator side. I'm telling the yogis to step out of the mountain, step out of the caves. Traditional mysticism and yoga is telling people to go back into the cave. But for a different reason. You see, it's as if we want to do something new, but at the same time, the past had a voice. Because after the game, I don't want to say game, but after the lens of honoring selves, like after the joys of the self have been experienced, only the joy of the collective remains. That's the only joy we haven't experienced. We haven't experienced a global civility and peacefulness that makes the inner realms roar. You see, it's like you don't understand. Genius is shy. That means it's like when somebody speaks, if you cut them off in mid-sentence, the person suddenly feels like they got to say it again because it's the way, it's like tone, it's rhythmic. Language is a rhythmic technology. It's like the outer realms are a film we didn't direct, the inner realms are a film we are directing. In the inner realms, there's salvation, paradise, completion, no suffering, no self, whatever you like. But in the outer realms, there is a unique program, biological program occurring on the surface of this earth. And if we take the notion of an advanced civilization to be spaceship debris, as if like imagine an alien spaceship crashed and we haven't put the pieces of this spaceship together to see what it was, And that's kind of where civilization is, where very good things are happening, but they are not unified. Chaos can always, guys know this, chaos can find unity very easy, because chaos doesn't need a speech. Have you noticed? In many movies, the armies of chaos, there's no speech given to them. You know, only the armies of order, they have an intention, a sort of vision, an aim, a goal, an ambition, a future. You see, it's as if the king comes and gives a speech, and they're all about to die, maybe, because, like, I'm just imagining, like, Lord of the Rings 2 scene, like in the kings, the last people remaining, just marching out. But I'm just saying that chaos is very easy to find unity. It's very easy to find commonality in the suffering, in seeing the suffering outside. It's easy to dismiss the world, pretty much, in our attention. You know, so many human beings, we don't realize it, but the dismissal of attention is like a spotlight. That means unless the person is content with being, if you're content with having nothing, you can be content with having everything. You know, it's like, what is the point of life? It's always like multiple roads. It's as if the mind has multiple ways it is existing, it is experiencing itself, but the body has only one way it is existing to itself. So technically, we can say every time you move as a physical being, your mind is enlightening your body. That an unknown force moves the will. And we think about free will, but what if this free will meant free from everything? Free from the concept of a freedom, free from any sort of notion. Because there's an idea of truth that it's like a story, and then there's the idea of truth that it was the raw experience of the realm. That means for me, I feel every day I am born, every day I wake up on this planet, it's as if it's a dialogue with the Gaian mind. That when I see animals move on trees, when I see people moving in the street, when I see celestial objects, on the internet moving in outer. It's just we have forgotten the kingdom we're in. We have dismissed the greater self. And so the chains of the immaterial are material. The chains of the material are immaterial. That means a material problem may have an immaterial solution. An immaterial problem may have a material solution. Sometimes I think, what if the planets are circular, but the universe is inside a cube? And what if that cube is inside a giant pyramid? And what if that pyramid is inside a giant sphere? And what if there is endless dimensions that are holding one another? That means the universe has been alive for so long that we cannot even know anything from its mind. Not that we cannot know anything from its mind, but there is a metaphysics of image which rhetoric animates. the spirit of rhetoric animates. And then there is the I could tell you a moment where you and your mind and everything you know in your moment, it's as if, like, imagine you have the best purpose, you find the best purpose for the individual, but now the whole moment, what's the purpose of the whole moment? It's very easy to find an individual purpose, but what is the whole moment's purpose? You see? And the best thing I have realized so far is we have to attend to the emotional stability of natural beings rather than the intellectual miscalculation. I don't know how to say it. Pretty much like it's the difference between right now, it's not per se just vocal truths, concepts that are important. There's a lot of emotional turbulence in the world. This emotional turbulence, either the person has to wait, someone comes and pulls them off a chair, or they pull themselves off a chair. And let me tell you, in this life, do not want a savior. You can believe in one, but do not want one. Because you must act as if, even if you entertain a religious mindset, there's like billions of people who are religious on the planet. I'm telling you, even if you entertain a religious mindset, it's as if, how can I tell you, to hurt another human being is breaking God's creation. So religion has no authorization, in some sense, for any sort of violence, because it did not create the world. Do you see? But in the religious sense, they say man has intelligence; he can move himself. When individualism is no longer suffering, when individualism is no longer joy, when collectivism is no longer suffering, when collectivism is no longer joy, that humanity may proudly raise its flag of an advanced civilization. That means we can try as hard as we want. We're just planting seeds at best. Right now, communication is the most advanced thing. You can say the most alien thing happening on this planet is the attention of human beings moving on this planet, Because we are the alien in the lifeless room. We are the life in the room of our moment. And all of knowledge, people have forgotten what it was about. What if your mind, your intelligence, whoever you are listening, is a coagulation, a mixture, let's say, of every sight fathomable? That means not only what you saw, but also how you saw that thing could be. Imagine every object. Right now I'm looking at, like, what is this? A bottle, a bottle of water. So this bottle of water, it's as if the moment I see the bottle of water, it's like I see the object there, yeah. It's like, see it to believe it, yeah, I see it. But when I close my eyes, this bottle is echoing. It's as if it's like when sensory perception enters, the mind engages it. The brain notices the difference in sight, and it works. Like, it actually, I can't tell you, it's like sometimes I think, is my body listening to me, the self, or is my body listening to nature? Because there's many things about the body where it's like it's like we've opened our eyes just here, you know? There is so much yet to explore. The entertainment of the future will be advanced. Pretty much, we need to just care. We have to care that we have a rare opportunity after 4 billion years to see what 8 billion phoenixes flying in the sky at the same time will be like. What the glow of that light would be like, You know, something I've never shared actually, and I just realized why I haven't in these talks, is that my inner realms has moments, I have moments where I dance, but it's not a dance based on music. It's a sort of dance as if the inner realms are reliving a memory. There's rhythm. The inner realms are so rhythmic, you know? Anybody who sings, dances, draws art, they know. They know that it's like the new only arrives when you are alone with the cosmos. That's when you see it. That means everything I'm saying, see that as one room, then see a greater room that every person has to discover, which is their own room. You know? I'll be honest, like now I understand the value of free will, but when I was younger, I didn't. I just wanted to quickly pass things and get through. It was as if I had no wisdom to you. It's like I hadn't looked at the system I was living in. Because I hadn't looked at the system saw, in some sense, you can say when you have many blind spots, you make many errors. You can say there is no searching for truth. We're just trying to reduce the blind spots bit by bit. That's the value of knowledge. That it is attempting to answer the questions at the furthest edges of human vision. Do you see now every human being is an explorer? Do you see the value of every human mind? Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, if you are a member of the human species, then I find it a responsibility for you to report to the species your inner realms. Right now, we're just soloing it out. Most people, nobody knows what's going on behind their eyes, you know. But if there is a trust that we can create a sort of neo-civilization, neo-civility, and neo-civility. And when I say neo-civility, I'm also, pun intended, suggesting it as sort of matrix. Sometimes, you know, a person's belief could have nothing to do with your inner realms can have nothing to do with actually like something metaphysical or anything. You know, I remember sharing this example like some person sat on the couch and then he's like, something is off. What's going on? And then the person closed their eyes and was like, oh my God, is a war happening on some part of the world? What is it? Is my intuition picking up on like some universal distress? You know? And in that moment, suddenly the person realized, no, they're sitting on the remote controller of the TV. You know what I mean? It could be something very simple that is making the complex seem chaotic, or it could be something actually complex that's chaotic. I mean, both cases are valid. A multidimensional civilization has realized judgment is the game of the inferior mind. Advancement is the game of the superior mind. That means after you judge, then you improve what you've judged. You know? Imagine. Imagine you cared for the world as much as yourself to a point that whether you lived for the world or the self, where else could truth go? When we're on a rock in the middle of nowhere, you know? So, anyways, guys, thanks for listening. Let me see what I feel. I haven't shared something. Oh, yeah, yeah. The planetary intelligence. So, the whole point of me saying a future that ran to us first, when I was thinking about the title of this, I remember I wrote this where, what did I write? Could the planet be time traveling? Yeah, I wanted to name this talk, could the planet be time traveling? Question mark. But then I thought a future that ran to us first was more poetic. But that's the thing, that's the idea that it's not just human beings that are experiencing the planet is experiencing itself through the human being. Technically, guys, the dictionary has judged us all. Literally, the definition of judgment comes from the dictionary. The dictionary seems to be the judge of man's mind if he remains just as a linguistic animal, a linguistic creature. He doesn't realize the value of the intelligence. So, anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I'm gonna open up to 5-minute Q&A, and then I'll see people on Discord if there's any interest for discussion. So 5-minute Q&A. Anybody has a question, a thought, and I'm just anybody who has a question, just freely write it in the chat section. I'm gonna just keep talking, and then when the questions come, I see them in the chat section. I'm gonna respond to them. So if the planet is timeless, it has access to any time. So if the human being thinks the human being is in an individual time, in a time in a singular dimension, the planet could be having a multidimensional experience. So we can say a person can walk in the park and in the middle of that moment suddenly experience perhaps an event that happened is going to happen maybe like 1,000 years from now. It's as if it's suggesting that the planet is like a multidimensional mind. If we can somehow see that nature's soul is a field of energy, and we are the directors technically of the individual component. That means nature, it's like we are in a symbiosis with the Gaian mind, with the collective being, this planet, the intelligence of this universal sector. And what can I say? I hope after listening to these Mr. Within talks, you also hear nature's talks as well. They're heard from within. Okay, so Kushbu says, I am the planetary experience, such a beautiful sentiment. Thanks for sharing your inner world and truth. God bless you. Thanks, Kushbu. You're very kind. But I'll tell you, hope can get you far, but after hope, you have a backup system for hope, which is from the beginning, you start off with an efficient strategy. So I'm telling you, it's like there is such an emphasis on us trying to, as 8 billion creatures on a rock, build the second prototype of an advanced civilization. Just like how people are improving their homes, why not improve your civilization? Pretty much I'm saying that. And if we can do that, then the future has ran to us first because we were inspired by our inner realms. That means if we can complete, if we can invent, if we can all become 8 billion inventors of an advanced civilization, every person doing their part, being that they're part of the painting, the part of the event of nature's mind. The past has tears of sorrow. The future has only tears of joy. Because if there is a future, the past never died. It was written in some, I think it was like some tablet or something they had found in Egypt. I don't know what it was, honestly. But it was like somebody had written, it was as if there was a passage in it where there was a human being writing on that tablet, like, we're going to live for you, O future generations, so that you will live for us. And the second part of that, you will live for us, meant as if, like, right now everybody's dead, but in the future they get to a point where they can access universal memory and suddenly everything exists, imagine. I see two types of technologies in this world. A technology that is man-made and man-coordinated, for example, in regards to, let's say, machine realms. And so then we have a technology like the human being riding a dragon, or like the human being, riding a horse. It's like that technology is like a symbiosis with another life form. So what if we realize the planet is alive, and in the future a collective species receives a planetary teaching? You see, the past was a pyramid, a triangle. The future is an inverted triangle. And the present is a cube, is a square. And so when the person realizes it's double the angles, so that means it's as if technically you can say the present is made of two futures and two pasts, an objective past and a subjective past, and a objective past and an objective past and objective future. I wish I could draw this for you, but there's no way I could do that. Well, so yeah, guys, I hope to have in this talk reminded the world that this, just like this warrior in this picture, she has seen the greatness and she's marching towards it. And what else can human beings do on a rock in the middle of nowhere? Just cry till extinction or celebrate till advancement. So anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I'll see you on Discord. Blessings. And the future that ran to us first meant that we changed it. It would be the multidimensional fulfillment of the human of this dimension, the humanity of this dimension. It's as if in our corner of the universe, it is our performance. That means it's as if, like, for me, it is easy if I just think as an individual. Yeah, you can totally be cruel to people, but if you think as a collective, as if what's the value of the expression? What's the value of family systems? When the children of these families do not see each other as a family in the streets. You see, it's the emergence of the archetype of the pure global human being, the pure global human being, a human being that the human dimension and experience of life has not been forgotten. The direct experience defines the humanity before the language that has to that's acting like a container. So as 8 billion cups fill up to the brim, the surplus, from that surplus, we can build an advanced civilization at the same time enjoying our lives here as well. So it's like we're trying to be tourists at the same time we're tourists that's trying to build where we're journeying in before we transition. One night infinity was crying, and the void heard the tears of infinity. And the void looked at infinity and said, "Little do you realize, one day you will be me." And the infinite stopped crying because the void had never made a mistake. That's what it means to be free before having to be. Thanks for listening.